Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another special report. I'm very interested in what's going on in our schools and how it's affecting and impacting students, this whole COVID pandemic, specifically the restrictions, but all of it. I think that having kind of an idea of what's happening in the high schools, an idea of how the kids think, what the kids think about this, I think that's important, and I think it's a piece that's missing. I asked about this a little while ago, and I had a whole lot of people respond, and this one worked out, and the timings worked out. So here we are. So Jack is joining me, and he is a senior student at one of the high schools in this health unit, and he's agreed to come and chat with me about what's going on in the schools. So thank you very much, Jack, for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I just got out of my online classes.
Very
It's
fun.
fun.
Is it kind of boring?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you? Can you give me an idea of the classes that you're taking? Give me are you taking elective classes or core classes?
I'm taking, I believe they'd be considered core classes.
Core.
Physics. Pardon?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm taking physics and computer tech, I believe it's called,
Okay.
for coding.
All right. Very cool. And in those classes, what does that look like? Right. What does that look like school this week?
So this week I would have gone in person to the school on Monday for a half day, uh, and then come home at about 11:30ish,
Okay.
and then attended an online class for my other course.
Okay.
And then on Mondays and Wednesdays and sometimes Fridays, that's what it looks like. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm only online for physics or whatever course it was. So this
Okay.
week it was physics.
All right.
So every other week or every other day, I only take or attend one class.
Wow. So, do you are you always in the school for I guess you're always in the school for the same classes, but is it only computers that you go in for, or is it or is it
Th-
both and it switches?
This week it was only for my computer course,
Hmm.
but then next week it would switch and it'd only be physics I'm in person for.
Okay.
And then same with online, it switches every week.
Okay. All right. So it's interesting. When you were signing up, did you sign up for online classes?
No,
You.
we didn't get that option. No, it was just
Oh, no, no.
uh,
When you signed up, you didn't sign up for the online classes. You signed up for in-school classes, right?
yes.
Okay. And so the only structure of in school, was there an option to have school like it used to be? Could you sign up for school like all of my courses with, right? Could you do that? Was that an option?
No, that wasn't an option.
That wasn't
I
an
be-
option.
I believe there may have been an option to go all online, but there
Okay.
was no just normal attending school 5 days a week.
That's interesting. And it's interesting that high school kids, to me anyway, aren't offered the option of attending in person 5 days a week. The only option is part time, two courses. That's structure. How are you finding that structure? Are you finding it easy to do your courses, or how do you find it?
I'm I'm finding I'm struggling a lot more because we're having to cram a lot more into a smaller amount of time. But then I
Right.
also can't like ask my teachers for help on a regular basis. We have to attend. So like after our online class is done, we have another Google Meet we're allowed to join and then ask our questions there. But sometimes we're not quite able to get all the answers.
Okay.
I just I don't find that as easy.
Not
And
as
then
accessible.
yeah, and I find not being able to ask a teacher in person to like come and explain it to me.
Right.
That tends to give me a lot more difficulty.
Gotcha. Yeah, that would be a unique situation to try and navigate, because it's not like you can put your hand up. It's not like you can schedule time after school. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, the limitations the virtualness of classes adds. So, what about restrictions when you're in school? What does that look like?
When I am in school, I have to wear a mask all the time,
Okay.
of course. But we also have to.
Are there any kids in any of your classes that are exempt from the masks and not wearing them?
I know of one person who's trying to get an exemption, but they've just told me it's been a very difficult time.
Really?
I don't know if anyone else who has one though.
You can give them my email. Um,
I'll be sure to do that then.
Wonderful. Interesting. So there's nobody in your class that's exempt and not wearing. I know that sometimes because just a quick, is it like if you didn't wear a mask, would people bully you? I've heard a lot of parents concerned about that.
I'd be willing to bet that would be the case.
That would be the case. People would give you a hard time.
They'd at least give you a hard time, if not bully you.
Yeah, that's unfortunate to hear. I think a hard time and bullying is the same thing. I think they banned bullying, so now you have to make it something else, right? Like it's like, oh, I wasn't doing that, sir.
Another difficulty, I guess, of the whole COVID situation is when we go into the school, we're supposed to use hand sanitizer every time we enter the building and exit.
Okay.
But whenever I use hand sanitizer, it tends to crack my hands and dry them up.
Yeah.
So I'll usually just go to the bathroom. But then after about, I think it was a month of school, they started telling me I had to use hand sanitizer anyways, or else I wasn't allowed to enter the building. So I had to get my mom to contact the principal, and then from then on, I had to be attended to the bathroom to make sure I washed my hands.
What does attended mean?
Someone had to follow me until I reached the bathroom. Then I had to, I guess you'd consider it sign in so they can track COVID cases, or I don't quite understand what that's for. And then I'd go wash my hands and go back to my class like normal.
Would somebody come with you to the bathroom?
Not inside the bathroom.
Not inside the bathroom, but they would come to the bathroom outside the bathroom.
They'd see me off into the bathroom, then they'd leave once I went in.
Wow. I wonder how much that costs. Like just from a man hours point of view, that's an expensive thing to have to do. My goodness. So just to be able to wash your hands, that was the rigmarole. That seems wild. Are you guys, when the bell rings, what happens? Do you guys have to leave?
In the morning? Or in the afternoon?
Yeah, whenever you're in the school, tell me about what happens both times.
Well, like in the morning when we get to school, we have to wait for like 10 minutes before they open the doors.
Okay.
And then we're allowed to enter the building, go to our classes, and then at the end of halfway through the day, I guess, the bell rings and we all just kind of single file exit the building. We're expected to use the same doors to enter and exit the building. Okay. But that doesn't happen too often.
That's weird because restaurants aren't allowed to do that. They have to have separate entrance and exits. So silly. That's weird. Like all of this seems like an alternate reality to me. What's the feeling in the school? Like, what's your feeling with your friends? Like when you guys are hanging out, are you guys like flatten the curve, man? We're gonna do this, and the adults are totally right. Like, what? Really? Tell me. I'm interested. Like, or are you guys like the adults are stupid and this is dumb? Like, I feel like the adults are stupid and this is dumb. So
yeah. Personally, whenever COVID comes up, most of us just want to like ignore it. We don't want to like linger on the topic because there's a lot to talk about. We'd rather just play video games or whatever. But so when it does come, so you're avoiding it. Okay. When it does come up. When it does come up, though, like I usually make a point of saying how stupid it is, or at least how stupid I think it is, anyways.
Yeah.
My friends seem to not care too much. They just want it to be over with. They just believe that if they can do something to make it end sooner, then why not do that?
Right. See, I would agree. Like I would agree with you, and the friend's statement there. But the thing is, when they said 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then it was a year later, I'm skeptical that what they're telling us to do works, right? Like, and so, but it's we're having the same conversations in my circles as well. So it's interesting to hear, and the avoidance, I think, is I wouldn't say everybody does that, but I think that there's a healthy amount of people who
it's common enough.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants to be the guy who likes Trump in the room. Nobody wants to be the guy who says vocally, "This is all stupid. I'm not wearing the mask." Everybody may be thinking it. I'm always the one who says that kind of stuff too. It is very frustrating to live in a time where it's hard, where you can't express yourself in a way that is free, and I think that it's difficult for kids growing up in that. So are you finding that these restrictions are enhancing your schooling, or are they making it more difficult?
Uh, More difficult by far. Like I'm not allowed to talk with people in class. I'm not supposed to, anyways. So I can't really like turn to my friend and ask for help during the lesson. So I don't interrupt lessons. I'd have to raise my hand, interrupt the lesson, whatever.
Right.
And I mean, online is a whole nother issue. It's like at the beginning of the year, I had way worse internet. So like I would lag in the online lessons a lot. I sometimes get kicked off. And then the teachers usually aren't very good at online video lessons. They don't usually know how to work it. I guess they've been taught how to use it since then because they've gotten better. But
so like at the beginning, the technology wouldn't work properly.
No. I don't think Google Meets even was meant to be or was designed around 30 people classes.
Right.
But it works okay enough now.
Fair enough. So what does an online, so how often are you doing online classes?
Every other day.
So okay, so regardless of snow days or anything like that, that's a nightmare.
Sorry, I said that wrong actually.
Okay.
We have online classes every day,
All right.
but it's only online every other day. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like you're in school, and then you have to go do your online portion at home after that, and then the next day you're online fully. So okay, can you speak to that? Like we've heard about the classes. It must be nice to not wear a mask when you're online.
Yeah.
So that's good. I would like to hear about the masks. Do the masks have any physical? Do you have any physical symptoms when you wear a mask for long periods?
I get acne around my face, around my mouth.
Terrible.
And then other than that, not really. I found I had phys ed or I had weight training. I believe the first quadrimester. And nearing the end of the whole course, I was finding I had headaches after every in-person lesson.
Were you made to wear a mask?
We still had to wear a mask during weight training.
How many kids were wearing a mask in the class?
I believe there was like a class of 18-ish, and so we all would have been wearing masks.
Nobody took an exemption. Nobody said, "I'm not going to do this."
I don't know of anyone in my school who has an exemption. There might be one or two, but I don't know of anyone.
Okay. Wow. And so, even during physical activity, masks are enforced. Mask wearing is enforced. That's scary. And okay, so overall, day to day, you're saying that masks are not impacting you too much, but
not too much, but it's enough that I'd prefer to not wear it.
Fair enough. Okay, so can you speak to the online classes and what that looks like, and how you're doing there? Like, and you can even compare it to in-person classes if you want to, but just how does it work? Is it teaching you in an effective way? What does the class like? How does the class function during the lesson?
I'd have to think for a second.
Yeah,
I would say in general the online lessons aren't as good as an in-person one could be. I can't it's harder to ask the teacher a question because I'll have to interrupt the lesson. I'd rather not put my voice out there, but that's if I have to do that, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'd say in general they can work almost as well.
Almost as well as online?
As in person.
Right. See, my initial feeling is if this, and I'm not meaning to legitimize online. I think that there needs to be a lot more studies done before we throw kids into it. I think that there are elements of it that are leaps and bounds better than class. But I think that there are parts of it that are really not good. And I mean, like segments of people, like JKs and grade 1s shouldn't be online. Certain classes shouldn't be online. But there's a place for it, but it's funny because it's kind of an all or nothing, right? So for me personally, I think if I was in your shoes, I would, or me as the 40-year-old that I am now, I would have thought that you would have liked the online classes more. And I was surprised to hear that you were like, well, they're kind of on the same, there's the same. But yeah, it's a difficult situation because it's not like you're almost being punished for going to school, right? Punished for having the audacity to want to wash your hands in the bathroom, right? Like that's kind of wild. So hard to gear up to go to school when you know you're just going to be under all of these expectations. And I mean, how do you gear up for like gym class when you're going to be in a mask the whole time? Like, do you run laps? Did you run laps?
In weight training, we were just like in one room with weights. So
okay,
no
yeah,
running.
it was just a weight gym. Okay, well that's
Yeah.
I mean that's at least a little better, but jeepers, I hope nobody was lifting heavy weights.
I can say we were allowed to exit. So like there's a door right outside to go outside from inside the room. We were
Okay.
allowed to just stand outside and take our masks off.
All right, well that's good.
I don't know if they'd let us do that now because so at the beginning of the year we used to like halfway through the in-person lesson, the whole class would be allowed to take an outside break.
Okay.
But now they've stopped that.
Oh, well that's interesting to know. Yeah. So did they give any explanation to why they stopped that? They just decided that they weren't going to do that anymore?
Not that I'm aware of. They might have, but
Did they send anything home to tell parents that there was this break halfway?
not that I know of.
Okay, that's interesting.
My mom didn't have an idea, so
Yeah,
that's all I know.
interesting. I would be interested in finding out what governs that, but I'm always interested in that kind of stuff. Okay, have any kids been sick, or talk to me about high risk contacts and friends who are sick? Anything like that happen to you, or did anybody you know?
I know of at least 3 people who tested positive.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if any of them were actually like had symptoms or anything. I couldn't find anywhere like on my school board's website or anything about the amount of people who've tested positive overall. I asked a few teachers and none of them knew.
Oh,
But I
really?
know about at least 3 who tested positive.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have the dashboard up. Maybe I'll have a look at that after, and maybe I'll put the link in the description. So check the description for the link to the dashboard just to look at the school cases. But that's interesting as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to this. You guys can't eat lunch in the school anymore, right? No, that's done.
We're allowed to drink water, but otherwise.
Can
no
you drink
food or
pop?
water.
Or coffee?
I wouldn't know. I haven't asked.
Yeah.
I imagine if it's in a bottle and they don't know what it is,
You couldn't come in with like a Tim Hortons coffee and like a bagel on top?
I wouldn't imagine.
No? Like that? There used to be, I'll tell you a quick story and then I'll give you a chance to kind of tell us anything that we missed. But when I went to John F. Ross when I was younger, and right across the street to John F. Ross is Tim Hortons. And it used to be, you weren't allowed. The first period class that I was in, the teacher didn't want anybody coming in with Tim Hortons. But then the class for my year, a guy always came in and he had his Tim Hortons, and he started bringing one for the teacher to like let him do it. And then everybody was bringing in Tim Hortons and bagels. It was like the most ridiculous breakfast buffet thing that happened. And all with this teacher who didn't want coffees. Like he was like, no, absolutely not happening. And then by a week in, everybody had bagels and coffees and sitting around. I think it was a drama. But it's such a sad thing to think about how sterile and how like it sounds like a very cold environment. It sounds like something that's not welcoming. It doesn't sound like a place where I used to work in high schools too, man. And like sometimes you've got to be soft. Sometimes you've got to be a place where it's okay to be not okay, right? Like and it seems like that's been cut out of the high schools. So that's really unfortunate to hear. I appreciate your time. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you want to talk about?
Other than just that I personally find online lessons a lot more difficult to retain the information from. I don't know what it is about it,
Oh yeah.
but I find I'm doing a lot worse in courses that I had previously done well in,
Hmm.
and I'm just not able to get the notes as easily. And I don't know what it is about it.
Yeah. Interesting. Like I said, I think that there's some really positive aspects to learning through video, and I think the internet's amazing. I think that the things that we can do online with like video training and education, like modules and all sorts of stuff, I think that it's amazing what we can do. But the way the education system has done what they've done to you personally, and to your generation of kids, has like taken the internet and made it an awful, terrible thing that is like takes your snow days away and like makes you a prisoner to this screen that you have to like. It's such an awful thing. When I was, and again, like this is 20 years ago when I was in high school. I wish that I could have access, because I like to go back and re-listen to certain aspects. Like I'll hear something and I'll put it on something in my head. Your brain is. Your
Like
memory, yeah, or well, I think of it like a coat, like a hat, like a coat rack or a hat hook. So it's like got pins. So I'll hang something on a pin, and then I have to like listen to it again to make sure it stays there, or to make sure I got the right one. So I really like videos, but if it's just like the classroom experience, but now you get to look at it on a screen. Oh, what? Somebody dreamed that up, and it's like the worst version of that possible. They were like, whatever you do, don't do that, and here you go, like this is what you get. And it just seems unfair. It just seems unfair because there's so much potential and they're not using it. It's so frustrating.
Like my first in my first quadmester, my math teacher actually took videos and would upload them to our classroom, like the Google Classroom.
Yeah,
so we could rewatch the lessons. I found that very helpful.
Yeah, that's
but
good.
Now none of my other teachers have done that.
Maybe you should ask them to.
I've suggested that they even just record the in-person or the online lessons so they do with us.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're allowed to, or at least that's what one of my teachers said.
Interesting.
I'm not sure.
Interesting. Here's a tip if you want to do it. I use a program called Ice Cream Screen Recorder, and it's pretty lightweight and it's free for trial, but you could buy it. I could it's $20.
I could just use OBS.
You could just do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably easier. Although I find OBS to be really heavy. Like it takes a lot of resources from my computer. It makes everything else really slow. But I don't know. If you're not doing anything else, it's all good.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, again, anything else that you want to talk about? I've got a little bit more time, so if you want to chat about other stuff, let me know if there's anything that we didn't touch on.
Other than, I guess school buses. I was kind of thinking.
Are you bused? I didn't know you were bused.
Yeah, I'm bused. I don't believe even in the summer, even if we have the windows open, we'd be allowed to take our masks off on the bus, which I just thought that was an interesting thing to consider.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
I was glad to come on.
Perfect. And I guess we'll cut it off here. So thank you everyone for watching. And you can check out all of my other stuff at my usual place, CanadaPoly.com. And have a wonderful